This is the new SwitchBot Air Purifier Table. There's a number of things about this one that makes it unlike any other you've seen. Maybe the biggest of all is that this will be a mobile air purifier and a mobile table. That's something that'll come in the future, but even today it comes with a wireless charger, a light that tells you how good the air quality is, and it's specifically targeted towards those of you with pets, as it'll deal with over 90% of airborne pet hair. It's also maybe the smartest air purifier you've seen, with some really great automation features. So today we'll review SwitchBot's new air purifier with a table on top. Let's give her. Hello automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian and I'm here to save you time and money on your journey to live smarter. Check out the time codes in the description below to see the different parts of our review, but I'm starting with a test that I enjoy running every time I get one of these. To start, my place is in a very good status, so there's no particulate matter, and we're in auto mode. So let's go turn on our fog machine. Within about 10 seconds, it picked up the bad air quality. Now, I'm gonna run that fog machine. Within 30 more seconds, it's already brought the levels down. It's turned off my smoke and fire alarms. It instantly brought everything down. That was amazing performance. So we got up to about 500 parts per million of particulate matter. And now we're bringing down the particulate matter in our air. So this has already fixed it to the point where, yeah, like my smoke alarms all turned off. Man, those scared me. I'm calling it right there. This thing's basically done. And that was a really great experience, better than a lot of other units I've tested. Now, let me show you why that is. That demo alone should tell you a lot, but there's some numbers and specifications that really matter to how well an air purifier performs. And with this unit, there's one thing that makes it quite different from a number of others that have tested. You'll always see companies quote their CFM, or cubic feet per minute. That's how much air can be purified every minute, and it essentially gives you how big of a room you can put one of these in. At least that's what companies tell you, but there's a common mistake that is often made with air purifiers that can kill the effectiveness entirely. In case you didn't know, an air purifier works by taking in air towards the bottom of the unit. Then it pushes the air through the filter that's inside, and finally it fires the air out the top. If they're not using a powerful enough fan to do all of this, then we get no wind speed, and it means that the purified air basically falls back down and is sucked back up by the unit. This creates a cycle of re-purification of the same air, and I've seen this too many times. That prompted me to start measuring wind speed on air purifiers. It gives you an indication of how far the air is going out into your room. With SwitchBot's air purifier, we see a pretty good wind speed, but the really neat thing about this and what makes it a unique design is because the air is hitting that table and then it's coming out at a 20 or 30 degree angle. What it means is I can place this air purifier up to 6 or 7 feet away from me, and when I sit down, I can still feel the air hitting my face. Actually, I can feel it right now too. It acts like both a fan and a purifier, and it's creating really good circulation of the air in our home. It's also sending out that air in all directions. Most other air purifiers just send the air straight up. So while that can create a nice cycle around your home, I actually prefer this as it's more likely to affect the air that I'm breathing immediately. Overall, the CFM and the wind speed are very high versus other similar priced units, and in general around the industry too. Of course, we need the air coming out to actually be purified, and the filter determines this for us. It also determines the cost of the unit over the years that you'll own it. So most companies give us 6 to 12 months of filter life, and most companies give us what's called a 3-stage filter. We do have a 3-stage filter here from SwitchBot, but they've given us 4,320 hours of runtime with each filter before you need to replace it. A 3-stage filter like the one in here starts with the first stage being what's called a pre-filter. You can vacuum the outside of this unit to get it cleaned up. And if you have a pet or two in your home, you'll probably have to do that every so often. That's because SwitchBot has specifically designed this unit to keep the pet hair captured on the pre-filter. Not every company lets you vacuum the pre-filter either, so this is an important distinction from some others. The second stage is a HEPA filter, and this is what gets you down to particulates of 0.1 to 0.3 microns. You'll see ratings over 90% with filters like the one in here. SwitchBot has also specifically stated that they are getting rid of some pretty nasty stuff at a really high removal rate. And while I can't test something like that, they're providing third-party test results to us. Now, finally, the third stage is an activated carbon filter. This removes smells and in many cases what we call VOCs. This is the stage that some modern air purifiers are missing, and I think it's really critical, even though we'll talk about how the sensor doesn't necessarily match up with the capability of this filter. From an overall perspective, the air purification is really good, and from a price versus quality standpoint, this is a really good purchase. But there's more to a smart air purifier. So I'm gonna show you the basics, how we get this built, set up, and the types of control you'll get. Building SwitchBot's air purifier is really quite simple, even with the table. Now you do get a fairly good screwdriver in there, and you're only going to need to put in 2 screws. They're kind of hard to see, but they're down here on the side. So one, and then you flip over and you do a second. The next thing you got to do is open up the back panel. You just grab that out and you'll find a bag on your filter. Just take that bag off, put the filter back in, and close this back up. By the way, this is your PM 2.5 sensor. This is where it sits on the unit, so you don't want to do something like that with your furniture. Down here is where you'll plug in your power supply, and then if you want to, you can use this little pad. You just push and you can place essential oils on here to make your house smell better as the air is getting purified. Something that SwitchBot did that is so different than most of the other filters I've used is they've actually given you 3 separate components and they all recombine together. So that's now attached in there. That's the activated carbon filter inside of your HEPA filter, and then this is your pre-filter, and this is what will attract most of like the pet hair. You'll find pet hair stuck to this, so this becomes easy to take off, roller brush it, vacuum it, and that is a big difference maker versus other filters that I've seen. Really neat. One thing to talk about, this cable, it's braided and it's very strong. So if you do happen to have pets, this will actually help so they don't chew through that. Now, your setup process is pretty simple. You're just gonna hit the plus up at the top, hit add device. And as long as you've plugged in, it should be found as a Bluetooth device right here. You can see the air purifier table. It's nearby. It's been found. And from there, you're just going to connect it to your home's 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and then you'll have it in the app from that point forward. But even if you don't want to use the simple control that's here in the app, you can press right here on the button, or you can go in and you can press right there. If you don't want to use that, or you don't want to connect this to your home's Wi-Fi, there's actually buttons on the device itself that can be used to control it almost entirely. When the unit's running, you're gonna see the PM 2.5 sensor right here. It'll tell you very good, moderate, or even bad, depending on the level that they're reading. As that number gets higher, your air quality is getting worse. You can see I have it in sleep mode. There's also a pet mode. What's really interesting about pet mode is it will adjust the fan speed slowly over time so as to not freak out your pet actually. So it can go up and down a little bit based on pet hair being detected. You also have an auto mode, so this would move up and down based on the level of PM 2.5 being read, and you have manual control, 3 different levels of that. If you ever want to see how things have progressed in your home in terms of the PM 2.5 rating, well, you have a graph here. You can get more data history. You can look on a monthly basis. You can look on a daily basis. Just if you want, you can also go back to specific days. So there's a lot of opportunity for you here to get data from the air quality in your home. You also have the ability to schedule this on and off at certain times of the day. You can repeat those schedules. And let's say you had the unit running, but you only wanted to run it for 10 minutes. This little delay function allows you to do that, so it will turn off after 10 minutes. Care and maintenance is right here, so if you ever need to replace the filter or you've got a notification from the app, there it is. It's going to show you, okay, you've used it for this long, this is how much time's remaining on that filter. There's also a child lock, a do not disturb mode. You can control the wireless charging, and if you ever have problem with your Wi-Fi settings, you can come in here, reconnect the device there. Third-party services. Once you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can connect to all these different services. There are NFC tags that you can buy from SwitchBot, and you can use that to turn on and off the device. So that would just be a scan, and you'll get notifications to upgrade the firmware, but you can turn on that automatic upgrade and it'll just upgrade it for you. Within the main control page, you saw the air quality being described as good, bad, or otherwise. Those ratings relate to different levels of what's called PM 2.5. Now, PM 2.5 means particulate matter at approximately 2.5 microns. That's the size of the particles around your home that are being measured by an infrared dust sensor on the back. It's a very common type of sensor, but some of you will be missing the fact that it doesn't measure for certain VOCs or other sizes of particulate matter. Now, depending on where you place this table, it might be pointing the sensor towards the middle of your room or the middle of your bedroom, or it could be up against a wall or a couch. So you'll have to think about that sensor sitting on the back when you place this. And that kind of leads me into a few things that you won't necessarily love about SwitchBot's new air purifier, or at least some things to consider. Most of what you're not gonna love about this air purifier is based on the fact that this is a piece of furniture now. You have to match it with your home, and while you don't necessarily need to use it as a piece of furniture, I think most people will look at it that way. You can see it's a little short, so I would have loved an adjustment to the height of the table. The material on the table is softer than your standard plastic. It's actually pretty resistant to scratches, but it's not gonna feel or look like the most high quality material. It does have a fairly good rating when it comes to temperature resistance and how much you could sit on the table itself. So it is fairly useful, although it is a little small for my liking. Now, the wireless charger is nice as it provides 15 watts of power for Android and a little less for Apple. Now, this gave me about 0.5% per minute when my Pixel 8 Pro was sitting on it. It is fairly easy to find where this little ring is so you can place your phone on it, although you can miss every so often. It's also a raised ring, so you can't really use this part of the table for other things, which further complicates the size of the table issue. I get that SwitchBot didn't want you to place stuff here, but it still matters to you. But the big secret of this scene that I'm filming for you right now is that I've faked being able to place the table in this kind of a location. SwitchBot gives us 6 feet of cable, but I can only get the unit about 5.5 feet away before I've got cable sticking straight out. Since this is furniture, and since we're talking about trying to put it in the middle of some rooms as a side table, I would love a retractable cable, and along with that, more than 6 feet of cable. I think for most people, this will end up being a really nice nightstand. Buying two to place on either side of your bed gives you an incredible amount of air purifying power, and with the physical design of the air purifier pushing that air out on an angle, it's going to be a really nice setup for a fan on your face. The light under the table, though, to me, it's a bit of a gap. I think I'm probably just too used to reviewing really powerful smart lights, and I feel like this and the features associated with it are fairly weak. You get a few brightness controls and a couple handfuls worth of colors. You can also have the air purifier show the color of the air quality in your home, which means basically as your air quality gets worse, you move from blue to green and end up at red. Now, the other design improvement I'd like to see is a little bit of light coming through where the wireless charger is. That would make it much easier to place my phone in the dark, as the light basically shines down onto the ground. Now, that's a really nice option. I could see a lot of people pairing this with a SwitchBot motion sensor, placing that motion sensor under their bed to light up the walkway in the evenings. Of course, none of the issues or the concerns that I have with this being furniture or being a table matter if you just buy the other version, which doesn't have a table on it. SwitchBot is always excellent at creating good automation options that'll help you get more out of their devices. This will help you automate parts of your home life as well. So let me share a couple of options with you for automating with this. In order to understand our options, I have to first explain what you can connect this to. A SwitchBot makes it really easy to connect to Amazon, Google Home, Samsung SmartThings, Homey, and even Siri for shortcuts control. Here are the features we found when connecting to those apps. Now, just be aware that each platform is going to give you a little different level of control, and at the time of my review, Homey still doesn't have access to this one. Our other option for connecting this is through what's called the Matter Bridge feature. This requires either the SwitchBot Hub 2 or the newer SwitchBot Hub Mini with stated Matter compatibility. That lets you bring up to 8 devices over to any Matter Ready app, which includes things like Apple HomeKit. Now, using Matter means you'll have a few less control options. However, that becomes local control, which means the internet isn't required for you to automate things. SwitchBot also has automation options in their own app, and some of these will require their hub and others will not. It'll depend on the other devices you're using, but you can see the options you have for automating with their air purifier. For the most part, you'll be turning on or off the unit, setting the mode and the light. However, you can start SwitchBot automations based on the air quality that this is reading. Using that, there's a really easy automation to make here if you have one of SwitchBot's battery circulator fans. Those fans can help to push the purified air around your home even further. So if you have a very large space, this will help to create more circulation. With this automation, as the air quality turns to bad, you'll use that fan to get the air moving further. Earlier in the video, I talked about how this doesn't have a VOC sensor on it, but Amazon has one called the Amazon Air Quality Monitor. I've used that within Amazon's app to turn on and off air purifiers like this in the past that can help you to clear out those VOCs. One of the basic automations that a lot of people are going to want to create is to start purifying the air when you've come home or when you've entered a room. Now, when you come home, you can use a ton of different apps to start this unit as you come in the door, even SwitchBot's app. You can also use presence sensors in those same apps to start the unit when you enter into a room. Now, both of those automations are very simple, and you can use time restrictions to make sure that it's not running at a really high rate late at night. And speaking of that, one of the things you might want to do is put this into a sleep mode like I have it in right now. Use a simple automation like this in SwitchBot's app to do that so that it runs almost silently. The last automation I want to show you is using a SwitchBot motion sensor. Whenever that detects motion and it's later in the evening, turn on this light for a few moments so you can see the ground. That alone makes this a really useful unit. We've talked about what you can do today with this, but SwitchBot is a company that continues to update firmware on products, and they continue to sell their products for a very long time. So you're gonna see a lot of updates to this. Now, as I go through this part of the review, please understand that plans change and there are sometimes technical reasons that things cannot be done as a company has stated. I haven't seen that out of SwitchBot, as they have traditionally delivered on what they've said that they will do. So I have high confidence in these things happening, and there's a track record of success with some of these future upgrades. Now, SwitchBot had a huge CES 2025 event where they unveiled what's called the K20 Plus Pro. That's a robot vacuum, but it's actually a platform for an assistive robot. There's a literal platform that sits on top of that robot vacuum. And at that point, you're able to place this air purifier on top of that unit. You can then literally bring the purified air to you. On the bottom of this are these little pins, and that's the mechanism that SwitchBot is using to make all this happen. Now, the K20 Plus Pro should be released later this year, and it looks like it'll be able to provide about an hour of power before it needs to head back for a recharge. Earlier in the video, I mentioned you could use the Matter Bridge feature to bring this into many more apps. Those of you using Home Assistant, Homey, or HomeKit, holy homes, Batman, this will be of benefit for you later this year. Because this is a Wi-Fi unit, SwitchBot has stated that they will add Matter compatibility directly to this before the end of 2024. That'll mean you won't need the hub, and it's actually, I think, the first product from SwitchBot that will have Matter directly on board. After living with SwitchBot's air purifier for about a month now, I've decided that it's a great one. That's after having worked with so many. It just strikes a really good balance between purifying power and things like noise. It has great automation options like all SwitchBot products do, and it's coming from a maker that I know and trust. As a parent, I've always appreciated having an air purifier in my kids' room. But this is a perfect option for parents. It has a wireless charger, and it has this night light, and with the right motion sensor from SwitchBot, you can turn on that night light at any time. I've placed this in my kid's room, but I've given him control of this, and he can use it as he sees fit, but I can make sure the air quality is good in there for him. You can check out all the product links down below, and if you need a hub from SwitchBot, there are links for my recommended hub from them in that description too. If you're looking for other smart products to automate your life, our playlist right there has all of our latest smart home reviews in it. You can check out things like cameras, doorbells, sensors, and appliances just like today's. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, live smart.